3.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be a mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light showing you the way home. You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds, plant a little happiness, let the roots run deep. If it's love that we give, then it's love that we reap. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds. Yeah, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. The door is always open, your picture's on my wall. Everyone's a little broken, and everyone belongs. Yeah, everyone belongs. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done. And bring us back together when the day is done.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to greet you on this beautiful morning. I especially welcome those of you joining us online. It's great to be together today. I'm Eric Zern, and welcoming you to Sunday service is one of the duties I happily perform as a member of your Board of Trustees. As we gather here this morning, we acknowledge our debt to those who lived on this land long before we did, and who continue today to thrive among us. We honor their struggles and perseverance. I'd also like to affirm our church's commitment to welcoming everyone, no matter who you are, who you love, or how you define yourself. You are welcome here. If you're visiting us today and want to know more about us, please stop at the welcome table and chat with one of our members who can answer questions that you may have. Or talk to any member during coffee and tea after the service. We'd enjoy meeting you. If you've been thinking you might like to get a little more involved in church life and activities, I recommend the activities and announcements sheet in your order of service. There are always a ton of opportunities in there, and attend today constitutes 20 opportunities. If that feels like a big step, there are plenty of bite-sized opportunities that don't require much time and effort but are rewarding and help us build our church community together. check it out. If you have questions, ask someone in the community room after service with coffee and tea brought to you by people providing one of those bite-sized services. So now let us take a breath and center ourselves and turn our attention to our service.
Good morning. I am Reverend Jill Braithwaite. I use she, her pronouns, and it is my pleasure to serve as minister of this congregation. It is so good to be gathered with all of you on this fine morning. I have the pleasure now of introducing our guest speaker, my colleague, Reverend Julianne Lepp. Reverend Julie has a background in finance, game design, and massage therapy. She has served as the minister of the UU congregation in Eau Claire since 2010, and she is trained with Meadville Lombard Theological School to become a spiritual director. Reverend Julie lives with rheumatoid arthritis and supports those living with chronic illness in many capacities. Later in the service, Reverend Julie will share a reading from her new book from Skinner House Books, the UUA publications arm, and the book is called Tend to Your Spirit, Mindful Living with Chronic Illness. And she'll share a reflection with us on the healing power of story in our lives. We'll also have books available for sale in the community room after the service, if that is of interest to you. And our opening words this morning come to us from Buddhist nun and author Pema Chodron from her book, When Things Fall Apart. Compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves. When we become curious about what hurts, about our pain and our fear, we are on the path of awakening. The path of compassion is to open our heart to what we feel and to not run away. Come, let us worship together. And now I invite Eric to light our chalice as we speak together our chalice lighting words, which are printed in your order of service. May you know compassion when the light is fragile. May your body find rest. May your mind find stillness. And may your spirit find courage to keep unfolding. Now please rise in body and or spirit, and we'll sing together hymn number 368. Now let us sing.
Lift up your voice,
So there's lots of room up front, and I'd like to invite anybody who would like a closer look at some of the pictures to grab a cushion or not, and just come on up here for today's story, which is not very long, but I found it to be quite powerful. I'm Dave Cicero, Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UUCW. My pronouns are he and his. And the story we've chosen for today is called I Am a Story, written and illustrated by Dan Yaccarino and published by HarperCollins. I thought so too. I am a story. I was told around a campfire. Then painted on cave walls. I was carved into clay tablets and told in pictures. I was written on papyrus, printed with ink and wood blocks, then woven into tapestries. And copied into books, big books, to illuminate minds. I was printed and bound, which means made into books. Then I was acted on stage. I was read in vast, private libraries. Then in public libraries, open to everyone. And in places you'd never imagine. I'm going to ask for just a little help here. Can someone tell me one of the things you see in this picture about where the stories are being found? Where do you see, Gwen? On a camel. Story on a camel. What else do you see? Yeah. Everett? On a bus, yeah. On a boat, yeah. Where do you see one? On a donkey. So these stories are being carried everywhere. Yeah, Olive? What was that? On an elephant? Yeah. These stories are being found everywhere. I made people frightened, excited, sad, and happy. I was censored, banned, and burned. But I did not die. I've inspired millions. I can go with you everywhere. And I will live forever. I am a story. So besides being an art teacher and really loving how this book kind of shows the history of art and story writing and books and that sort of thing throughout history in many different parts of the world, it's also important to think about how each of us is a story. Each of us has a story to contribute and share with the world. So I wonder what story you would tell. I forgot to ask for a volunteer to bring to lead us out with the lantern. Would you, Gwen? That'd be awesome. So those going to RE classes could come forward and follow Gwen, who's going to light our lantern. and we'll all get organized right outside the sanctuary and head to our RE classes. As the rest of us, please join in singing. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. No one love is with you always. As you go, as you go. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. No our love you always. As you go, as you go.
We enter now into a time for sharing of joys and sorrows that touch our individual lives. This is one way we express through ritual the many ways we care for one another in this community. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share aloud or raise a hand and an usher will bring a mic to you. I will light a candle for you, and after each sharing, I invite you all to respond with me, "We hold you in love." If you have something you'd rather not share aloud, you can use the QR code on the order of service, and at any time during the week, you can use the link in the e-news to let us know what's on your heart. What you share is only for the ears of those gathered here today. It will not be in the posted video or appear in the e-news. To folks attending online, we hold you in love as well this morning. And now, please come forward to share a joy or a concern. So much we're holding in this room. Let's take a deep breath together and pause and hold all that's been shared in our hearts. Will you join me now in a spirit of meditation or prayer? Spirit of life, source of love, divine mystery that goes by many names and is beyond all naming. We send the love of this community to all who are coping with illness, anxiety, addiction, or depression. We hold in the care of this community all those targeted by powers that deny their rights and their full humanity. We send strength and love to all those engaged in resistance work at this time. May each of us know ourselves to be enough, just as we are. And may we know ourselves to be held by a love so big, a love that will never let us go. May it be so, and amen. Now please remain seated, and we'll sing together hymn number 391, Voice Still and Small.
Still and small, deep inside all,
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp. I use she, her pronouns. And we're going to start with a reading from Tend to Your Spirit. And this is Strength is More Than Spinach. This is Julianne's story. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. Living through upper Wisconsin winters for the past 14 years, and just a preamble, I'm from South Carolina, so my congregation had a lot of fun when I came to the Midwest. It has taught me a bit about strength and fortitude, both emotionally and physically. Getting outside on cold, dark mornings to clear my car of ice and snow has often felt like a Herculean effort. In the South, we only had to clear off pollen from our windshields and only a rare bit of ice. My Southern-born children would wail about having to help shovel the drive and complain about the wind as we prepared for school each day. I thought getting them ready for elementary school with their snowsuits, scarves, and boots were enough of a challenge. Dealing with harsh winter temperatures in the grips of a flare was much more formidable. When I was young, I had a mental picture of what strength looked like. I didn't have a magic lasso like Wonder Woman, but when I watched Popeye the Sailor Man, I was convinced that if I ate enough spinach, I could grow strong like him. He could handle all the bad guys, and everything turned out just fine at the end of each episode. I really wanted that too. As the youngest in my family, being strong was a good way to keep up with the older kids and hold my hands in a fight with my siblings. After watching one episode, I once asked my mom to make me spinach. I tried it a few times, but it was pretty yucky to my little taste buds. But if I didn't like spinach, how could I be strong? Strength equaled safety to me when I was little. I had a chaotic childhood in my kindergarten, elementary years, and physical strength made me feel more secure. I adored building forts, playing kickball, hide and seek, biking through the neighborhood and the woods behind our house. I'd wrestle my best friend Brian, and I'd try to be strong enough to climb the highest trees and bike farther than all the other kids, especially the boys that I played with. As we get older, many of us start to ask ourselves what strength means to us. Getting diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in my 40s caused me to ask that same question again. I was frustrated with the unpredictability of my body and this disease. How would I handle days when it hurt too much to do basic things like use a stapler or take a walk? Thankfully, those days didn't happen too often, though on some days, I simply can't do what I used to do. I've had to reframe my idea of what it means to be strong. It has taken a big mental shift to let go of what I thought should happen and to accept the reality that I live in. We all have our own story and have to figure out how to manage our struggles. Living with pain has caused me to develop a resolve and a resilience that I did not have before, just from the sheer effort it takes to get up on some mornings. I've drawn on that resolve when I've made it through vital events and when I would rather be in bed hiding underneath the covers. And I also need to be understanding that being strong is also admitting when we need to ask for help. Western culture valorizes self-sufficiency and endurance. That isn't a healthy mindset for anyone. All of us need support of one kind or another. You can move through that sense of vulnerability and fear of judgment to embrace that asking for help is a sign of courage and even wisdom. There are so many ways to look at strength. Learning your limitations is also a source of strength. So I want to close with the idea from basketball coach John Wooden, who said, "Never let the things you cannot do prevent you from doing the things you can." And that I need to recognize the value of myself, the value of strength and community, and the value of rest.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Toast to the musicians. All of us live in these finite bodies. When we're very young, it seems like everything is forever. And some of us live with chronic conditions very young. Some of us find them towards the end of life and discover what it is to live in a body where gravity works. Gravity works. And what can we do? In this Western culture of be young, move fast, do everything, put on skin cream, be skinny, cover that gray hair. Well, it's all a bunch of bull. It really is. It's a bunch of bull. And the quicker we can learn that, the better, and the happier we are. And for me, it was in the midst of the pandemic, and Jill and I have talked often about how we move through the world. I move through the world with, I like to be strong, as I mentioned before, because that has been important to me as a woman, as someone who grew up in the South, who was told to, well, if you smile and get your MRS, and if you sit pretty and marry the right guy, it'll all be fine. Just don't talk too much or take up too much space, or, just be nice. Well, that's tiring. I like to be nice, but I like to be nice to myself as well. And I think part of life is recovering from those messages that we get from society, from our childhood, and our stupid culture that tells us that we have to be these strong cowboys, the Marlboro Man, or just somehow invincible. And that's why this was the perfect song, the one voice, and then wait, there's another voice, and then the harmony that comes with all those voices. And what a Unitarian Universalist theology of salvation, that the boats rise together, that we are saved together, whatever saved means. And for me, being saved is to be who I am, to be, to know that I was born right the first time, and you were born right the first time, and that your story is just as sacred as any text 2,000, 3,000 years ago. And that's one of the things that I think is powerful, is to think about, what is your story? What is it that you are inhabiting in this life, this finite, precious, just like Mary Oliver tells us, this one wild and precious life. And then when you're struck with limitations or daily pain, how do you get through that? For me, it was in the midst of the pandemic, as I'm sure your congregation figured out, how do you survive apart? How do you get through the stress and the stress that many of us are enduring right now in these times? And it's together. It's finding people who can walk with you in your story and unfolding who you are and who you can become and that sacred part of yourself. And for me, I was trying to hold a congregation together. I had my kids at home. We had 5 people in our house, and it was we were schooling at home and trying to learn how to be a televangelist. We were one of the first people in Eau Claire to close down our church, and people were like, "What are you doing?" And like, "Well, we're closing down our congregation because we value people." And then I set up my little phone, and we streamed from Facebook because we didn't know about Zoom or any of the things. And so, it was a big learning curve. And during that time, caregivers, teachers, any medical professionals, a lot of people discovered that they had underlying health conditions. So one day, I woke up and in so much pain, I couldn't even lift 5 pounds. I couldn't use scissors. I couldn't walk very well. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to be a minister and hold this beloved community in Eau Claire together? How will I take care of my family? And I was so very afraid and so very vulnerable and so very just lost. And so I did what many people do. I went online and looked for community, and I didn't know anybody in Eau Claire with chronic illness, but I found a minister, and her name is Florence Kaplow, and she's the co-writer of my book, and she's a Zen priest as well as a Unitarian Universalist minister, and we walked together through this process. So we talked about our medications, and we talked about our struggles in ministry, our struggles, but we also talked about how it changed us as people. And I think that's, whenever you mention chronic illness, sometimes people are like, oh, is it going to be that kind of story? Are you going to tell me about, all your medications, what's falling out of your hair, all the things that But I think we all have chronic conditions as we get older. You know, being human is a chronic condition. It's a finite condition. And for me, the first thing that became apparent to me is that people are so alone. You know, that we've heard about that epidemic of loneliness. So in that chronic illness, you know, I found myself with that epidemic of loneliness, even in the midst of 5 people in my house. And I thought, you know, people need to walk together or be together and to be in community together. And so anyway, we got together and we wrote this book. And the lens of the book is through the seasons and thinking about the seasons of our lives. We think about fall, letting go. Isn't that a hard thing to do? I know right now with all the things that are in the political realm, all the things that are in our concerns, to lay that down for a moment and to be mindful, to sit in our bodies, to sit with each other, to be moved by music and beauty and the sacred, and to know that we are part of something greater, whether that's community, whether that is that woven story. You know, our sacred story is part of this sacred text of life. So when I thought about being strong, letting go was not part of that. When I thought about being strong, having grief was not part of that. Having compassion was not part of that. Pain was not part of that. But Brené Brown, as you might have heard from her, talks about that positive vulnerability. And darn it, that is hard stuff. It makes me frustrated. I don't want to be vulnerable. The first time I preached out of my a couple weeks ago when my book came out, I told my congregation, I am terrified to be in front of you right now and have you read what happened and to show you that it's like laying down and showing your underbelly, you know? But when we do that with one another, I don't know about you, but like in our small group ministries, and we hear, you know, what people go through, and you're like, yeah, I went through that. I have that need. There's something that changes within us. We know that we're not alone. We know that our hearts belong to each other, and that interdependence, and that you know, all boats rise when we're together. And then we think about in winter, and I'm kind of going through the sections of the book here. In winter, we have fear, we have isolation, and then there's strength. Thank God strength was in there. And then there's comfort. And so thinking about the ways in which we can be complex beings. So one of the things that was very helpful to me in the writing of this book was listening to other people's stories. And I think that is something that we don't often do. We're often quick to respond. You might have heard of the tool of active listening, where you're not just listening to respond, but you sit kind of in that Quaker-like silence. And in fact, in community organizing, you have to sit for a couple minutes and you can't respond to anybody, which is really hard for some people. And you just you can nod, and people talk without interruption. And then you find yourself not necessarily listening to respond, but really listening, hearing their story, holding their story. And I think that's what we do in communities like ours. We don't say, you have to do X, Y, Z to be saved. You don't have to fit into this box, or you don't have to be this kind of person. But what we do is we honor that each of us has something worthy. Each of us has something important to give to the world. There's a woman in my congregation who was a huge mentor when I was diagnosed. She's had over 32 surgeries, and she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 30 years ago. And she's in the book, so I'm not telling on her or anything. And I said, Sue, how do you do this? And she said, I have so much gratitude. I have so much joy. There is so much beauty in the world. And some days I hurt so bad. I hurt so bad. And it just, I can feel the tears coming into my eyes right now. It's like it can be both and, when we have each other's feelings and we hear each other's stories, like joys and concerns always, I cannot help but be moved because all of our stories, the world is hard, but the world is also beautiful and connected and lovely. And if we can remember that, if we can be mindful and have practices that hold us, then it turns out to be mostly okay. There's some days that aren't okay. So when I think about the story, the healing of a story is not only knowing our own, but listening to others. I used to have a theme song. I am Superman, REM. I can do anything. That's really toxic. But I loved it. I was a stockbroker. I worked 60 hours, 70 hours, 80, whatever, crazy hours. I worked for E-Trade. I thought I was hot stuff. And I wanted so bad to have children, and I was working so hard. It wasn't until I quit that job after my mom died. I was broke and a massage therapist, and along comes baby number one. And I think about, that's often rewarded, isn't it? That I am Superman. But I was telling Jill that my favorite song during the pandemic was Rising Appalachia. I am resilient. And I trust the movement. I trust my body. I trust my voice. I trust your voice. And I think when we can lean into that trust and that love and that spirit of shared story, we know we're not alone. And so as you move through your week and your day, and think about, you may not have a chronic illness right now, but we all have something that we carry, and we don't have to carry it alone. And we can all find our ministry. I had to learn how to be a minister who said, hey guys, I'm gonna wear tennis shoes. I'm not gonna always be able to stand up and preach. I might have to sit down and preach. And in that compassion, people are like, I'm really glad you talked about that because I can't do X, Y, Z, or I'm really glad you talked about your struggles. So when you think about Brené Brown, she said, one day you will tell the story of what you are going through now, and it will become a part of someone else's survival guide. And I'm just going to close with a poem. I'm going to walk over and get my book real quick. In the book, there's these gold leaves. So instead of gold stars, you get gold leaves. And I just wrote a brief poem about that. We are the sum of our accomplishments, are we not? Counting our worth by degrees and achievements and the glory of our completed task. This need for achievement clings tightly like constricting saran wrap left on too long. Each call, each task needs that gold star, especially on days like these. Days where I can only wear soft socks, and ice is my closest friend. Nights when sleep is impossible, doing tasks in the wee hours, and catching up on rest in the morning. Can I keep down food while adapting to this new medication? Did I catch all the details of the last call? Some days there is energy and joy and movement. Other days my illness is like some invisible intruder, stealthy and unpredictable. On days like these, I can't keep on pretending nothing has changed, any more than a tree can hold on to its leaves in the fall. My bare branches are showing. My body is telling me it is time to adapt. What if I shed these tight bands of success and gather the leaves of change about me, glorious as a tree in autumn, with orange leaves for compassion and complexity, yellow for caution and care, and brilliant red for joy in the movement, in the moment, celebrating beauty as it comes. I am not done with my changes, and change is not done with me. I'm learning to rest in uncertainty, to accept changes I cannot control. A gold leaf is my new gold star, and it is enough for me. Amen, and blessed be.
Still a little tall, but. UU Church West Split the Plate program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month, we give half of all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to help us live our UU values, pursue the goal of social justice, and serve our community. Our November partner is the Tribal Elder Food Box Program. I am pleased to introduce Kara Black, who is the Procurement and Programs Manager from the program. She's going to tell you a little about it, and then she'll be available after the service to answer your questions and hear your thoughts. This program is especially important given the current events in our country.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning. It's my honor to be with you today to share about my partnership and work with the Great Lakes Intertribal Food Coalition, which started the Tribal Elder Food Box program. So the Great Lakes Intertribal Food Coalition is an intertribal partnership of all 11 federally recognized tribes in Wisconsin, and together they aim to address the unique needs and economic health needs of the Great Lakes tribes by building a network of tribal producers and supporting traditional foodways, food access, and economic development within tribal communities. The coalition was formed back in 2022 to lead the Tribal Elder Food Box program, which began in 2021 as a COVID-19 health disparity and response program. The Tribal Elder Food Box program purchases healthy, culturally appropriate food from tribal and local food producers and distributes it twice a month at no cost to tribal elders. Tribal elders have told us that receiving the Tribal Elder Food Box is like getting a box of love. In doing so, it improves health disparities within tribal communities and builds stable and consistent markets for tribal and local Wisconsin producers. Tribal producers have told us that the program offers support, information, and a predictable market. Nothing else has allowed us to grow our business in this way with this support. The program has expanded rapidly since its founding in 2021. From the first to the fourth year, the Tribal Elder Food Box program has nearly tripled the number of food boxes, distributed from 10,800 to 31,515 boxes over the course of a season. Since the advent of the Tribal Elder Food Box program, the Great Lakes Intertribal Food Coalition's work continues to focus on efforts that combat food insecurity and promote knowledge about food sovereignty within tribal nations in Wisconsin and within the broader Great Lakes region. And this is what your generous donations today will go directly towards supporting. Thank you so much for inviting me today to elevate this incredible effort and celebrate Native American Heritage Month.
To donate, please follow the instructions on the screen, or you can mail your donation to UCW. I think it's all there. The offering will now be gratefully received, and we thank you so much for your support.
So they all of life, woven through time together. Bring your gifts, bring your gifts, bring your strife, bring your strife. It's nothing to fear or hide. Bring your joy, all your joys, bring your light, shine your light. All of the parts of our lives together. Meaning, justice, truth, diversity. They found a true community. We sing together to lift us all. And we a world of harmony. Love is the thread, the warmth and the wet that brings our world together. Love is a thread in the tapestry of life, woven through time together. Love is the thread, the warmth and the wet that brings our world together. Love is the thread in the tapestry of life, woven through time together, together.
Thank you. And now will you speak with me our words for offering dedication, which are printed in your order of service. To the work of this community, which is to ground ourselves in love and joy, and to act for inclusion and justice, we dedicate ourselves and these our offerings. Now please rise in body and/or spirit, and we'll sing together hymn number 346. Come sing a song with me.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And love bring you home when hope is hard to find. And love
been such a joy to be with you today in this hall of welcome and blessing. I invite you to think in the week ahead how you might tend your spirits and explore your own sacred story. What mindful and tender care can you give your body, your heart, or your spirit? When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world. We go in peace and we go in love. Amen.